Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the StarCraft 2 World Championship Series America Edition. I'm Nathanius, joined by Fear Dragon, and you were getting a little bit ahead of yourself. We were getting ready to start this match. All you were talking about was SCARLETT versus Puck.
I'm excited for that match, man. That's going to be a really fun match.
It will be a fun match.
I mean,
we do have another one to get to before that.
But you know what? I was talking to
stat.
you and Kev about the
stat.
stats on Puck and SCARLETT and everything. And Puck has not done so well traditionally versus SCARLETT. In fact, in the past 2 years, he has 1 in 28 in map score. But I have another map score for you. And it's actually for this series. And this is what I think is going to prove to you that the map scores are not everything. Semper is 14-1 versus Future. He's actually never lost to Future before. But all of those games are from June or so of 2018 or before, when he was still an active pro player, or active semi-pro if you want to call it that. Right now, Future is actually heavily favored versus Semper. So I actually think this is going to be a bit of a turnaround.
Is he, though?
Yeah, I do think so.
Okay. Well, if you're wrong, then I will take up the role of bullying you.
Okay, fine. If I'm wrong, you can eat a shoe.
That's fine, because I would do the smart thing and just buy a chocolate shoe from some place that would.
You wouldn't just let the meme continue living for 5-6 months.
No, I'm a man of my word. I'm a man of my word. I'm a man of honor.
That's true. You got to live life with no regrets.
You're goddamn right. In the top left, we have the red Terran player. He is Semper.
So smart, so handsome. And down here in the bottom right-hand corner of the map, a man who is so young, he has his whole life ahead of him. He's living reckless. It is Future from Infinity Gaming.
I was going to say, the other guy is like 23. He's got most of his life as well, okay? Like,
what are you talking about, Nate?
I mean,
at
what
the age
really?
Of 23, you're basically already a retired pro player.
What happens between the age of 17 and 23, really, right? Like, you can already drive if you're American, so, like, what else really is there? Nothing
a year or 3 years in.
No.
You get Canadian, though. Semper's Canadian.
Yeah, but I think in Canada, people start driving at 16 too, right?
Yeah.
Canada's pretty chill. They have some of the best stuff that we have.
Graduate around the age of 23 potentially.
Yeah. So what? Yeah, you read some books. You get a couple bad relationships.
You become self-sufficient as a human being that can make income to support yourself.
I have met some people much older than 23 who cannot support themselves or make good life decisions.
Okay,
so
fair point. Fair point.
It's probably playing StarCraft is probably what teaches you that, to be honest.
Yes, actually.
Problem-solving skills you learn in StarCraft are very applicable to many things in your life.
So really quickly, I do want to quickly touch upon the openings here, because Future did go for the 1 Rax expansion. That means his factory is going to be a lot later. But Semper going for that barracks factory. I mean, that is kind of especially the older way of playing, like the traditional way, just getting up the 1-1-1 setup. And again, I have to keep reiterating this. Semper is the guy who is a little less in touch with the meta. He has been playing a little bit lately, but there was a solid 4 to 5 months that I'd see him log on and it'd be like, oh yeah, you're playing some StarCraft? He's like, yeah, I'm playing some 4v4s or something with my girlfriend. It's like, okay. He really did miss a lot of time in StarCraft.
If you talk to anybody, though, I mean, I think some of the mechanical skill, if he's practicing a little bit, comes back pretty quick. Good win there in the Reaper fight for Future. I thought Semper actually had the lead there, but a little bit of a hiccup.
Yeah.
His Reaper could finish that one off, but TvT meta hasn't really changed. It's pretty much been the same since Interference Matrix and all that got tuned up the way that it's been.
Nice grenade. That actually is potentially going to save this Reaper for a lot longer and allow him to maybe get close enough to scout.
What I do like is the Reactor Hellion build. That's kind of like a counter meta build that some people have been doing to get quick wins against the Reaper Hellion Starport lineup.
I'm sorry, I'm just really enjoying this Reaper running around the map and dodging out of literally every single hazard that has come his way.
Having to follow this fight is how Awesome Sauce earns his... That's how he earns his bread right here.
This is finally the end, but wow, he actually made his way around almost the entirety of the map. That was some sick micro there, and you know, it's small things. It doesn't actually add up to be that much, but hey, these units weren't on the other side of the map pressuring Future's 1 Rax expansion.
Yeah, but everything else should be pretty much the same. I think Hellion openers like this they're kind of fun sometimes, but you have to be really careful. It's very easy to get caught off guard and not have enough to deal with the very standard 2 Raven into Viking push. So it's kind of weird, right? He builds 6 Hellions, then he's going to go back into Marine, Tank, Raven. I guess the Ravens are going to line up to be the same anyway. So
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it's not a huge deal, but having those extra Marines early on can make a big difference, just because once the tanks are out and the Vikings come out, having Hellions doesn't really do anything for you. The Cyclone can do a lot more. Of course, with Hellions, there's always the potential that you get a magical shot off on the opponent's Marines, since you won't have stim early, and then you can really overwhelm them.
Well, the Reaper getting back over here is kind of annoying, and the Hellions seem like they just kind of gave up on chasing it down, so the Reaper's gonna even get a kill.
Oh no, fisticuffs rip.
Oh, that feeling when the Reaper knocks a bunch of the SCVs into a full surround.
We've all been there.
Congratulations, you played yourself.
We've all been there. And the command centers coming in. That's the 3rd CC for Semper.
Yep.
So Semper is playing this extreme traditional TvT style without going for the Hellions, which I don't think are really necessary. But I'll tell you what, as someone who does do the no add-on Reaper Hellion into Starport to get the Raven, you can be caught off guard by the Hellions and take a lot of damage early on. But the Cyclone will be able to bully it away. It's not really a lot. And Semper will have his own Hellions anyway. So like right here, he should be able to push this back without too much trouble. That Cyclone gets focused down. It could be awkward. Needs to get the rest of his units over there, but I think he should still be okay. Yeah, he's fine.
Oh, he's going to go.
He should be. Oh,
loses it.
Well, that's a pretty big mistake there.
Yeah, I mean, you were talking about the value that Cyclone can sometimes
He should not have
offer.
lost that. He should not have. He should not have lost that unit. But unfortunately, that's how it happens.
Stim is going to be starting up behind all this for future, so he's getting into the regular kind of bio style and everything. The bio siege tank, they're both getting up their Vikings as well after both getting up 2 Ravens. So they're going to have very similar compositions now that the Hellions and the Cyclones have been knocked out for the most part. Yeah, even the siege tanks are finishing up around the same time. So this really is a very similar looking game. I'd say the biggest difference really is, I guess, just the extra 4 Hellions and the extra couple of Marines, or sorry, the SCVs that Future has.
Yeah, it's at the end of the day, it's basically the same setup for both sides. The real determiner of all things TvT is what you do when you get those Vikings out after the 2 Ravens. Very normal to try and go and get an attack. If you can siege up on that 3rd base or the natural, pretty much any position where you can use those Vikings and Ravens to out-micro and outplay your opponent. That's the biggest thing, is there's a lot of mastery behind the Raven control in the Viking micro and getting the vision, focus firing with tanks. If you're better than your opponent and you both have this setup, you'll pretty much never lose, because it is that rewarding of good control. So I do expect to see a move out from both players. So they're either going to run into each other, or it's going to turn into one of those really weird base trade type scenarios that Tasteless loves to talk about. And the Hellions are going to bring Semper home. So this actually opens up his 3rd to be quite vulnerable.
Oh, Future would love to keep these Hellions alive for just another 10 to 15 seconds longer, because if he does that, he's going to keep the army out of position, but he does end up losing those Hellions. That's going to give Semper enough time to scan, see the army coming, and siege up his tanks in time.
But see, he could use interference. Oh, he's going to use auto turrets.
It's auto turret massacre over here. And it looks like Semper's auto turrets do last the longest. He doesn't have that many Marines over here. The Viking's going to land on top of these siege tanks, and I believe that one siege tank on the far left does get taken out by the Viking.
Wow.
Future comes out on top.
I was a little bit curious. I guess it soaked the shots from the tanks. I'm surprised he didn't go for interference matrix on the siege tanks, but whatever. I guess the Vikings the auto turrets did their job, and now we go back to the standard realm of Terran versus Terran, which is the 3rd base. It's going to be very, very hard to secure again with the way that everything is set up over here.
Yeah,
he should never lose the air lead as long as he has Vikings rallied across the map.
Interesting that Future lands. I guess he's concerned about not having any Marines here.
No, 5,000 IQ. Lift up the Vikings with the medevacs.
And drop them on the siege tanks?
Yeah, because it'll be faster than trying to land them directly. Or he can kill that tank and just edge out for vision as well.
Yeah.
But there's only 1 Marine there, so if he were to have dropped on the tanks before the Vikings came out, he would have been able to...
He still has air superiority, although the repair from these SCVs could be problematic.
Here we go. And now he's gonna bum rush this.
He could get a lot of SCVs here if he focuses. No. Okay. Well, the tanks still go out, and the Vikings get out of there alive, and that is actually, in some ways, the more important thing there. As
Fear Dragon. What does that one French caster who's really tall and knows jujitsu say all the time?
Something get off the couch. Something taking up too much space.
Oh yeah, something about like two-ply soup, right, or something. God, it's like some variation of those words or another. Golly gee, I just can't remember.
This soup is too hot.
Oh yeah, that's it. Because Todd, because he can't play.
But
when
you know,
he said he can't play when it's too hot.
Rotterdam always says, "Look at the supply," and we do see that future.
That's true.
Actually, quite a bit ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, and this is usually what kills you is the big drop. This is actually being executed about as like recklessly as you can. He dropped it all the tanks together. They took insane splash damage. This is maybe the only way Future's attack could not instantly win the game, but I think he will still be able to secure a dominating position. GG.
Well played, and Future takes the first game.
It's all about the Raven Viking engage at the start. If you play TvT, you know, it's like if you know, you know, and if you don't know, you don't play. Straight up.
It is scary when you see like both sides siege tanks siege up, and you just see like 8 auto turrets dropped all next to each other, and you're like, I don't actually know how this plays out. It's a really scary
There's
spot.
multiple ways to do it. Like the auto turrets will soak shots, and of course they'll deal some damage. But in my brain, it always goes back to interference matrix, where I'm like, he could have dropped interference matrix on the tanks and still tried to move up, but I guess if he accomplished the goal either way, so it's not really a big deal at the end of the day. The other funny thing about the auto turrets is that casters are like the highest prioritized for attacking.
Wow, that's really egotistical of you to say.
Yeah, that as well. As a caster, I'm very highly prioritized. Well, Twitch, every time I talk in Twitch chat, everyone just feeds my ego. I can't help it. It was much better than just being Terran.
They are high priority targets for the
auto turrets. So the auto turrets, they don't actually have enough range to hit the tanks anyway, so they're going to probably, I think they do end up attacking the Ravens. Like all the Ravens died in that fight very quickly. So you'll always notice that. It's like when people are like, I can't believe Liberators just automatically kill High Templar. I'm like, well, you know, that's because High Templar can attack them and they have energy, so they're the highest potential priority threat unit that there can be.
Yeah. Well, we're going to move into game number 2 on Kairos Junction, a nice little throwback map. And actually, it's maybe worth mentioning that because Semper hasn't been playing as much lately, and I would say probably around the time of last season, maps like Kairos Junction are probably actually going to be a little bit more comfortable for him. He's going to know them a little bit better.
Familiar with this map.
More familiar, most likely, I would say.
Yeah.
But we'll see. We'll see how things go. Again, Future sitting up 1-0. That doesn't surprise me that much. We started to see the small little things that Future seemed to have a better handle on, and just like taking the engagement and everything.
Yes.
But I think Semper still has what it takes to maybe still take a map off of him. But Future does look pretty good right now.
Future's been on that. He's one of them gamers that have been rising up. You know what I'm saying? Like Future's just been crushing it. On his way to the top. He's quite the gamer. I would say.
I think once he sorts out some of the consistency stuff that he has been dealing with, and he's gotten better about that.
I don't think that's possible for NA players, but I respect your belief.
Okay, fair enough. But I think once he starts ironing some of that out, I think he actually is going to be able to kind of ascend as an NA player to the top.
What does ascension mean for NA play? Do you mean he moves to Europe or?
So don't go Kellizer on me, okay? And of course now there's someone in the chat that's like, Kellizer was a Latin American player. He's like, no guys, he was born in Florida. He is a Latin American player, but he was born in Florida. He lived a good chunk of his career in the United States. I get to call him NA.
My favorite way of griefing people is just talking about anybody from North or South America as American as well. Because I'm correct, by the way.
Yeah, technically.
Yeah.
So we are going to see that first SCV making its way across the map. And same thing for both of these guys. I want to make sure there's no shenanigans happening.
Gas, barracks, gas. Very smooth, very crisp, very standard.
So I do want to go back to the last game where we saw Future did go for like the 1-Rax expansion and everything, but I would say like kind of inarguably he did sort of out micro Semper with the super duper early game units. So
yeah,
with Future going for some of the earlier like more aggressive units here,
it just has so much to do with like the momentum. Like unless you get a really sick bop, like unless the guy goes Reaper, Hellion, and then attacks, and you went Reactor Hellion and you just like kill him and counterattack and shut down the natural. very unlikely anything happens.
Yeah.
May face some memer like the tofu survivor guy that Battlecruiser rushes on NA. But like if you're not playing any whack jobs like that, honestly, it all boils down to at some point or another, there's going to be 2 Ravens, and you're going to have 2 Ravens, and whichever one of you makes better use of the Ravens will probably win the game.
Yeah. We'll see what happens when it gets to that stage. For now, we do see the single SCV joining that Reaper to try and get a bit of additional damage, kind of like we saw in the previous game. Future's the one that's getting aggressive here. I think he is a little bit more confident in general, but hey, he's going to find that SCV on the low ground. He's going to get the first shot off.
Nice.
His Reaper is going to take a bit of damage here, and he's going to have to back off as the second Reaper also pops out.
Yep, should be able to get away.
Yeah. Command Center just a little bit later on for Future here, though, because he's going straight up to the starport.
And what if he starts a fusion core without building a command center?
Is that a thing?
Only if you're really, really bad. Oh. And he comes up the ramp. The Hellion takes some damage. Good pickoff. Oh my god, is he going to kill the Hellion and not lose anything?
Wow. Future tried to be really cute with his micro to get that Hellion into a position where it hit all 3 of those units.
Future tried to slide in MDMs. He got slapped back real quick.
Yeah.
Dragon.
Like a split second before the Hellion actually got its attack off, it got picked off there. So suddenly that kind of play really starts to backfire, and Future's going to have to back off. But like you said, this is not necessarily the most impactful part of the game unless it really
can snowball. It can. In a world where he just like lost everything and those and like Semper maintained all the units that he had, the natural expansion is only just now underway, and the Liberator would not defend it. And actually the Cyclone would also not defend against 3 Reapers and 2 Hellions. So that's the kind of weird
Semper actually
talking
was clumped up there for a second, so the Hellion was actually getting some good damage, and hey, he's going to be able to clean up both of the Reapers now. The Reapers darting in over here, and Semper's trying to line up these Reapers.
This is really important because he wants to move the Cyclone down to get rid of this, but the Liberator is in his main base now, so the Cyclone's going to get to work on the Lib. The Liberator will be able to kill a few SCVs.
Okay, this is actually starting to snowball now, Nate.
Yeah, so this is what I was talking about to some degree. You lose a really, really good job, though. He was able to kill the Reapers and the Hellions. Those Reapers and Hellions they're very important.
Yep. And 1 Reaper's even going to get out of line.
You cannot build siege tanks and Ravens without the 1 gas from the natural expansion. So this is catastrophic damage because he's really slowing down the more important part of this strategy, which is that follow-up. However, Future's building
Cyclones. That's a second
Cyclone, which I don't like. I feel like if he had just gone for the next Raven and tank, he could. That's the smarter thing to do. But what Future is doing is he wants to be a little bit more aggressive because he's already established some presence, which I totally get. But it has the potential to just, flub super hard.
Yeah.
He could give up the nice little edge that he's gained.
Raven's pretty far forward. If he actually gets a lock on with the Cyclone on that Raven,
I think the Maroons will push him back. The problem is they both have Cyclones, and that's actually the most pointless interference matrix of all time because you were going to be able to retreat anyway.
Yeah. Second Cyclone is here now, and this is what Future was looking to go for.
This is not normal. This is the unexpected variable. Put the Hellion up front so that it gets the first lock on. If he doesn't micro it, would be my suggestion. Or he's going to try and...
Ooh, the second Raven's
You don't have mag fields. You're not killing that. This is cute.
Yeah, the second Raven's also here now for Semper, so he should be able to disable one of those Cyclones, keep him out of the fight.
I was gonna say it's like Agretsuko cute, It's like not really destroying stuff, but
a
just
siege tank coming across the map
stuff.
also. Future's actually starting to commit to this a little bit with the.
It's gonna be hard with only 1 Raven. There's a reason why everyone gets 2, and we might see it in this game. Of course, an interference matrix onto that tank, or being able to like posture here, will allow him to maybe siege that spot by the natural cliff, which is where you want to be. But
he has a 3rd command center behind all of this. Okay, yeah. Semper's getting up his own, so
they're both have 3rd CCs about to finish.
Yeah,
and they's both starting stim. It's it takes a little bit of the wind out of the sails to only have the 1 Raven because that interference matrix is big, but 2 Ravens is gonna allow you to break through like 4 tanks, whereas now you can only really get through like 1 or 2. He's not dropping 8 auto turrets, that's for sure. So Semper lives past the first phase of the TvT madness.
little bit behind in workers, thanks to the early game damage that he took, but eventually he'll start kind of catching up, and he's not that far back behind in supplies.
That's not really. It's not really the determining factor in TvT.
Yeah.
Like Terran versus Terran is the one matchup where you look at a worker difference of like 7 or 8, and meh. As long as you're building Vikings and tanks, like the Marine count will vary for both players, but your tank positioning and your Viking control are always going to be more impactful. Yeah. Unless it like really goes, unless you're talking like a 20 or 30 supply difference, but
it provides an edge, but it's not a game-ending thing.
Yeah. We've seen plenty of games where a Terran player with 15 plus Marines over the opponent, you run into tanks, you stim, you die.
Ooh. Gets a Cyclone for a Marine. That's a good trade.
I mean, the Cyclone's kind of pointless in this phase. It's nice to try and pick some stuff off, but the way that he just kind of like left them out like Reapers. In my mind, the Cyclone was always like the mid-game Reaper to kind of like bully units around, but it doesn't really, just like the Reaper itself, it falls off very hard the longer the game goes on.
Okay, well, he's going to harass down one of those Marines, and the army gets into position.
Semper's not sieged up, so Future's going to throw the auto turrets to soak damage, and he kills the Raven immediately.
And Future's going to win this air war until the 2 more Vikings show up, and now this does get a little bit dicier. He is getting pushed back and bullied back.
And I would land the Vikings so that he can't land his Vikings on you. Oh, well, his next 2 ones show up. This could be the turning point.
Okay, so Future takes out all the remaining Vikings there of Semper.
And he's going to do exactly what he did last game, by the way, to try and save the 3rd, and then he's going to fall even further behind in supply. He's going to unsiege everything, pull the SCVs, stim a couple of Marines over.
Which is barely outside the range of those siege tanks he is. And there's the unsiege, there's the SCVs being pulled.
Focus fire the siege tanks.
Oh, he gets one.
Tanks if you can.
He's going to get the 2nd one. Solid trade.
Yep, and now we're once again, now it looks a little bit more like the last game again. Look, he's already got his 4th command center on the way, on location, and it's a 20 supply difference instead of that 10 supply difference.
It's almost all entirely coming from the Marines. There is a siege tank lead there for Semper now, though.
Yeah, but you know what's going to happen? Remember what happened? How did the first game end for your Dragon?
The big Doom drop?
Yeah, it rhymes with Blor Schmedevax.
S'more Medevacs?
No, 4. I was going to say 4.
4. Okay.
Yeah, but it's only 2 this time.
I thought the Medevacs were going to get toasted.
This could be the biggest difference. No, he had 4 Medevac drop in the last game, but he's hitting this follow-up a little bit quicker than he did on King's Cove, and you unseat the natural. And you say to yourself, well, he didn't lose all his SCVs this time. Okay, but what's more than 2 bases? 4. So it's 4 bases versus 2 mining bases right now for Semper. Semper's also supply blocked. His depots died here.
And 1-1 Marine's going to be taking actually some pretty decent trades here.
Yeah,
for
Future's
0-0.
upgrades.
Oh, okay. Losing the Medevacs is a little bit tough. A nice positioning on those Vikings to come in.
I just want to know who put fireworks inside the Medevac so that when they get blown up, like it, you know what I mean? It
Why
looks
can't
like
you
fireworks.
use those grenades as the Medevacs? Why do you only use them in death?
Exactly. Well, I was going to say that when it comes to stuff like that, of course, why can't you crash a carrier into something if you're out of interceptors, like Tassadar?
It worked for Tassadar.
Yeah. It worked for Tassadar. I still don't understand why I can't just crash
Powerful enough to take out an Overmind. Why not? Why not a siege tank?
Carriers are really expensive. I'm just saying. I'm totally okay with it. You want to turn it into like a mini nuke, like 200 damage AOE? Yeah, why not?
All right, we do have these Marines getting into a very, very nice position in the natural there. He does finally decide to back up to the safety of his own siege tanks. He actually walks through some of the siege tank fire there of Semper and backs on out for a little bit, loads up a medevac, and is actually just get home.
I would try to get like 4 medevacs and just doom drop him again.
It can, like, I understand, like, it could go well, or usually probably should go well, but it can backfire, right?
I mean, it's possible, but
yeah.
The sensor towers for Future should prevent this big drop from catching him unawares. There we go. This is the TvT I know and love.
Okay. There they all are, and Semper is actually trying to circumvent the sensor tower and give him as little notification as possible, and it seems like he wants to go and dive into that 3rd base location. We'll see.
The sensor tower covering the edge of the map is also really important.
Future's going to unload over here, though. Just a few units.
I think he just wants to make sure that he kills the Marines that are trying to spot for the Doom drop. And now he's inside sensor tower range. So what you do here is rally all your Marines if you can to the north side. Yeah, he's sprinting. He's already doing it.
Oh, boy. And
His
also,
units are already running
Future
up to
might
main.
be a little bit distracted because he is sending some of those units in. He also has a drop on the south side of the map that was trying to go in. And as we end up seeing, this army is a little bit too small to deal with Semper's drop. And Future's he's gonna lose his medevac on the south side of the map.
Punch the gas. You punch the gas. One of the factories is here that's really important. Now you want to siege these tanks, stim the Marines, and if you can get to the production, because that's the biggest problem for Future right now is that he's got tanks sieging his racks. And it looks like it's all finally being cleaned up by this low ground siege. Actually, really smart play there by Future to save his main base.
Future is going to be able to push all back all the medevacs, take care of all the siege tanks there, and he still has this in transposition inside the natural. It is still 4 bases to now 2.
Leave the tanks, lift the Marines, move them a little bit forward, a bit further south if you can. He's got his medevac to spot. Okay, this is not a bad play. He's going to try and just nuke him there.
And he gets a siege tank.
Good play, good play. The Marines are a little bit far back, so not
no Vikings. Actually, Semper does have 2 Vikings. Where are they? Well, either way, he's going to try and dive on in here.
He's going to lose a lot pushing this away. And, yeah, as Rotterdam says, gaze upon the supply of both players.
There's a flank of some Marines coming in to snipe off those medevacs. He gets one of them.
Gets an empty one.
Yeah. Plays the roulette lottery. Doesn't win.
Oh, well.
+2 armor is on the way for Semper. I've got to hand it to him. He did actually catch up in the upgrades, which was looking pretty grim for him for a long time. Because he was down 1-1 with 0-0. And I think
his tank count is healthy, so that's going to be the big thing. He didn't lose the factory. He had to move it, but he didn't lose it. So it's going to come down a lot to tanks. Like a good couple tank volleys are going to be really big here, but these tanks are not in position to save this base just yet.
Both these players taking pretty big Marine losses. Oh, those siege tanks getting some nice shots off with a scan there. There's one siege tank still left over, and of course, Future has has to get out of there. Semper had scanned directly on top of that, so he saw all those units lift up in the medevacs. There's no way he was going to continue to be aggressive there. 4th base, though, it did seem like it got safely established here for Semper for now. And they're actually expanding into each other, so this is going to get real fun real quick.
Yep, both players expanding towards each other, always interesting. But Future is maxed out, and Semper is not. Semper is riding the struggle bus. It's not a fun bus.
No. Well, Semper, I mean, he's been able to tie up those weapon upgrades and the armor upgrades for the Marines, but there's still those siege tank upgrades that Future's actually leading off with. And here we go. Looks like Future's going to try and stem up the ramp. Siege tanks siege up a lot earlier on for Semper.
Yeah, this was all he needed, because he's going to take out those tanks. Now the natural is completely forfeit again. GG.
That's it.
Future does it. 2-0. Eliminates Semper.
And for the first time, he actually wins a series versus Semper, something he has traditionally always lost. He was 1-14 before this, and now we see it's 3-14. Taking that first series. Big
Congratulations, Future. Very well done. Future is also just a player that's been improving, I think, pretty consistently. We talked about this in NA. Yeah, and I can remember the days years ago when we would tell each other how much we hated each other, cheesing each other on NA ladder.
Yeah.
The good old days.
Well, big congratulations to Future. And of course, I know Semper's not going to be too broken up. He was really happy he was able to qualify for Challenger again, despite his kind of busy schedule and everything. And hopefully we'll still get to see him dipping in and around every so often. He actually lives around Montreal, so there's a good chance we might get to see him at good old WCS. What is that? That's fall or autumn? WCS of autumn? WCS fall? I think it's WCS fall.
There are only 4 seasons, and we started with winter, Fear Dragon.
But autumn is a synonym for fall, right?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
You're technically correct.
No, I was just uncertain if it was WCS. Okay.
Okay, half your pay will be cut for saying the wrong season name. But
all right. Well,
that means it's time for our winners match. Let's take another look at Group D for Dank over here at WCS Merca, as we have the decider match's first player. Future will get another chance to escape this group, but that winners match should be really fun. 2 of the biggest griefers / trolls in professional StarCraft facing off in what will surely be something I can only describe as another very handsome Dutchman once said. The words, a fiesta of clowns, Fear Dragon. Coming up next is going to be SCARLETT versus Puck. You won't want to miss it. You're watching the StarCraft 2 World Championship Series. We'll be right back.